Hello, everyone. Phil Turek here, and there's so much to unpack. So, this particular episode, I've decided to create the title of it Bad Religion, but it's kind of blending together politics and religion in a unhealthy way. In the future, there will be a vibrant, self-sustaining human civilization on Mars. The high road to Mars is one built on a foundation of gracious professionalism, the bedrock ethos of the first robotics competition. The earthbound dreamers of today, who are working to open the high road to a future Martian civilization, are the ancestors of tomorrow's Martians. I'm Phil Turek, one such ancestral Martian. Look at what I'm trying to do by creating simulated Martian cultural ambassadors to act as positive social influencers to somewhat depolarize society here in the United States. Imagine how much even better it would be if the United States were to bring real Martian ambassadors here. All right, bad religion. So, what do I mean by that? Oh my goodness. You take any human characteristic and you can distribute it on a Gaussian curve. Take a collection of people. Uh, what is their height? It'll be a bell-shaped curve. What is their age? What is their income? What is their IQ? What is their pick any category that you can quantitatively measure, and it comes out to this Gaussian distribution curve where, for example, let's talk about income or wealth. So there's always going to be a bottom third to the population, a bottom 20%, bottom 10% uh, in any one of these characteristics. And that's just what's normal for not only humans, but anything you care to quantitatively measure throughout all of nature. And I can't help but notice the religious suggestion that it was said, at least in my religion, that the poor will be with you always. And here's from the Bible that says, "For I was hungry and you fed me; I was thirsty, you gave me to drink." And when did we do that? Well, when you took care of the least of me, is the religious passage if you want to look it up in the Bible. And so, religiously speaking, the poor will be with you always. And why is that, you might ask? How come we can't eliminate the poor? I mean, President Johnson tried to do that in the 1960s and couldn't. And we kind of acknowledge now that there's always going to be people in need. And why is that? I think there's a good reason for it. And it's because you get a release of endorphins when you do something helpful to a stranger. And so, ever since January 20th or so, there's been a lot of change going on in the federal government in the United States. And my goal in life is to try to have uh, people coming together to try to build a better society and using Mars as a tool for creating that change and creating the focus, getting us to do the best of ourselves and create a better version of ourselves. Well, okay, so a lot of people received termination notices, and it's still going on. Like last night was the Friday Night Massacre, if you want to look it up. And I decided, how do you, if you actually care about people and treating them with dignity, how would you send out a termination notice? So I Googled it, and here's from a website. At the very last slide here, I have the links to the websites I'm referring to in this video. And on that particular website, they say, here's how you should structure it. There should be a first part where you explain, what's going on and let them know that, it's not because of them. And then it always has to include human interaction as part of it. You can't just send them an email. Someone's going to meet with you. They're going to go over what your benefits are and help you, get launched into the new part of your life, and then close it out and let them know, this isn't personal. It's just a business decision. Okay, so compare that with what's really going on. Um, the current administration isn't doing any of that, and they're claiming they're doing it to cut government waste. But what they're really choosing to do is to be cruel. And I don't say that lightly, okay? So, the current person in power, I was thinking of making up a nickname. If I did, it would be something like uh, Putin's potty mouth puppet. But that's probably not a good choice. So, anyways, it's been said that there's this social influencer, and when he was a kid, he would steal his brother's alphabet blocks. And when he was told that he had to return them to his brother, before he returned them, he glued them together, spelling his own name. That's the sort of person who I think we could describe as being sociopathic, not knowing how to get an endorphin release by helping others. And so what he did is he ended up going the other way and saying, okay, he learned how to get an endorphin release by being cruel to others. And quoting the same person, uh, later on as he became more influential, he bragged, I think, to one of the Watergate journalists that fear is power. That's his worldview. And lately, uh, these social influencers, I'll call them, view the bottom part of the distribution curve of humanity as being parasites, is the word that they've been using. And that is, I'll say, contrary to all the world's major religions. Uh, I view the bottom 20% as being a source of endorphin release by helping people in need, strangers. You get a good feeling by doing that. And recasting it as, oh, these are parasites, these are vermin, okay? That is contrary to major religions. And I'm saying this is actually a new religion that is emerging. It's not the first one. The United States created a new religion in the 1800s, if you want to Google it. And by the way, here's a quote from the email that was sent out. It says the agency finds based on your performance. Boom. That's not trying to treat a person with dignity. That is specifically attempting to be cruel, saying based on your performance when there was no basis on performance. Okay, so what's going on? Hmm. Here's another quote. So, a person who survived living through Europe in the 20th, middle of the 20th century, he made this short speech when he was talking. He said, first they came for the socialists, then they came for the trade unionists, then they came for the Jews, and then they came for me. Well, right now, our current social influencers and even our government is trimming what's always the bottom 20%. In case of transgenders, that's 1% of our population. Trimming the bottom part, saying they're parasites, got to get rid of them. And from my point of view, the real objective by the person driving all this is just, uh, I'll say it appears to be sort of racist hatred of an articulate, well-educated black person who personally insulted him on April 30th, 2011. So ever since then, this major social influencer has been determined to destroy anything that that person ever accomplished in their life. And they had a campaign for a while to say, oh, that person isn't even a natural born citizen of the United States. And he funded that campaign for a while. And I believe that the current, all this business about let's end birthright citizenship is just a continuation of his single minded focus on trying to destroy that black guy, and say, well, you know, I'm going to eventually have it established that that person isn't even a U.S. citizen, no matter what it takes. So it's not socialists and then trade unionists and then Jews. It's transgenders and immigrants, ending birthright citizenship. Civil servants are easy to start off with. Any protesters, prosecutors, the free press, scientists, teachers, the list goes on. And the sad thing is, if you're always trimming the bottom 20% of the population, as you shrink the population, sooner or later, the only person left is the king. Okay, so if you bother looking into what investigative journalists come up with, and they're not the bad guys here, they're the ones who go and ask questions and dig and do the research that the rest of us doesn't do. They're saying, for example, there's this town, I think it was in Oklahoma, possibly Texas, and they had a lot of immigrants, migrants working on slaughtering cows and getting them, our meat to our stores. And they were raided, I think, 2006 or something, and it devastated the business. The business raised their wages 8%. They still couldn't persuade white Americans to do the work. It's disgusting work. They're stinky cows. It's dangerous work. It's repetitive. Manure, all this horrible stuff. And this is true. I see the zero didn't come out very well, but that's supposed to be 40%, 40, are foreign born. Now, that doesn't mean they're illegal immigrants, because what the company learned to do is, well, if they can't get the people who were there at first, they're bringing in others who are uh, here in like temporary protected status or refugee status, whatever it is. You could look it up. There's the link to the article. The point is, these are people who don't withdraw from Social Security, but they do contribute to funding the government and paying taxes and paying into Social Security. So deleting this is like a double negative to the health of the U.S. economy. No one really wants to replace doing them unless the wages go way up. And that means the price of meat ultimately must rise to accommodate it. And then a lot of these, it applies not just to the meat, but, a lot of farm labor, not just meat packing workers, but farm labor. Uh, Prices are going to go up. Bang. So I titled this episode Bad Religion. And I think the way to view this is, how do you feel about people who are in need? I recently read the entire book on tyranny by Timothy Snyder. It's a short book, and he has 20 lessons in there. One of them is just one page on how to exert yourself in an environment like what we are currently going into. And one of the sad things I remember reading in the book was, there are these people who, to their dying day, as wounded and amputated as they were, they felt that Hitler never lied to them, that everything he said was true. I view that as a religious belief, right? In religion, there's no proof that God exists. You just choose to believe in God. And right now, I would view an entire movement in the United States as being a cult religion that says, here's this person who never lies, just like in the 20th century and also in the 21st century, different examples. Here's someone who's never lied to us. Well, gosh, I am not part of that group. So, and it seems like, once your religious beliefs change, I'm not going to talk you out of it. So, are you in good religion or in bad religion? And I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about, how do you feel about the bottom 10 or 20% of the human population? If you are willing to treat those people with dignity, how hard is that? You get an endorphin release, helping people who are starving, helping people who are sick, helping people that you don't know releases endorphins. That's a good thing. In this bad religion, if you're going to go along with it, if you buy into it, then you have to view that bottom 10 or 20% as being a source of cruelty for pleasure. There's no other way to describe it. And that's your religion now. It's not just a political view. This is your religious belief. You've replaced all the other major religions you might have been a part of: Catholicism, Christianity, Islam. It's a long list, right? Now you're choosing to worship this one guy, and he's never wrong. And it's you get happy by being cruel. Okay, so I do have a couple of things. One of the phrases being kicked around for almost a decade now is America was great in the past. And if you go on YouTube, they do some beautiful imagery now about what it was like in the past, but not really. Uh, what you would do is type in a search for retro and then add another word like 1950s or so. And so here's an image from one of those videos. This is cute. You can see it's a retro future dreams. So every person in that video is, the image of beauty, right? And poise. And the women are definitely, oh, they are the objects of pleasure. That's it. And you got the men who are all, you know, tall, dark, and handsome types. So when when this religious cult talks about making America great, uh, that's the myth that they are free to create in their minds about what's going on. But it's kind of tempting for me to say, well, which year are you actually referring to when we were more great than we are today? Was it like the 1930s or so? So here's what we were doing back then. This is a lynching postcard. And here's a whole crowd of people who were there. And not only is it a whole crowd of people watching these two black guys being killed and hung, but it's a picture taken of these people celebrating it. And it's a postcard that they can mail off to their friends and say, ha, look what we did, right? Wow. That's what it was like. These are Americans here. Everyone in this picture is an American citizen. Every single person. No, not excluding the guys who are dead. And we are currently in an environment where if you don't define what you mean by we were great in the past, you have the great imagination and myth on one side, and then the reality. Where are we really going right now? Where are we really going as a nation? I thought I would toss this in here. So I live in Southern California, Huntington Beach, and I've gone to the surf contest down here at the pier. And one year, the mob got really drunk and rowdy, and after the bikini contest or so was over, they went on a rampage and torched some stuff, started attacking the lifeguard towers. And this was great fun for them, right? It's like being a teenager and being irresponsible. You make a mess, you destroy stuff, and oh, this is great. And the sad thing is, I sort of feel like these are the people who are now the voters in Huntington Beach. Our city council has sort of just soared to national prominence by being all just this one um, inclination. They've just unanimous, unanimously voted to put a little plaque on our public library, and it includes MAGA as part of the plaque. Uh, hmm. They're demonstrating that they have the power to do things, but are they demonstrating that they have the responsibility to serve their community, including all the members of the community who just are not part of that religion? Okay, it doesn't come across that way. And there was a fellow who went to last Tuesday's city council meeting, and he got arrested as he stepped in front of the podium to demonstrate doing civil disobedience. Okay, so I acknowledge I used to think maybe I should run for Congress like 20 years ago. I should have. And now I'm thinking, well, I should get involved with local affairs and go to city council meetings and speak up and try to be a voice, be persuasive. I'm terrible at being persuasive, but this video is my way of at least talking to myself and keeping going. Okay, so I don't know why I even bothered with these two images. So you have the one image of our president over there, and another image showing, well, he's uh, who's really in charge. And since my whole objective was to use Mars as a tool for making improvements to our society, sooner or later I'm going to have to address both the technical brilliance and the political ambitions of Mr. Musk. Uh, Yikes. And that's going to be an issue. So when I look at him, I think back, when I was a teacher, there was this one student who was sort of like uh, in behavior and personality what our current president is like. And on the other hand, technical brilliance, sort of like what Mr. Musk is like. And with that combination, he took over the school's computer lab and he made it so that he had backdoor entrances to it and passwords, and the school was never, ever, ever able to wipe him off. Long after he graduated, he was just still laughing away about, you can't remove me from the system. They never did, right? They had to retire the entire computer lab and replace it with new hardware. So when we see Mr. Musk having the access he has to all of our records, I know some congressman piped up and asked, well, does anyone know, is he putting in back doors? Does he have access? So he could be. I don't know. But he appears to have the capability, certainly the wealth and technical expertise and minions, that he could seize digital control of government systems at will. Anyways, that's food for thought. So here's a bunch of links. What I traditionally have been doing is just turning this into a YouTube video, uploading it, and then having a link to it on a website that's not on YouTube. And there's so much going on like a daily basis where I look at something and I say, God, I want to respond to that. I think what I might do is merely try to just record myself interpreting the news of the day or what's, been bothering me the past couple of days, uploading it to YouTube and skipping the step of saying, okay, here's latest news on this website and let you guys just, if you're interested, find me on YouTube at this one channel I have and such is life. Okay, this concludes my mm, recording for now. All right, bye.